So one of our subscribers, Bernardo, on YouTube, asked about omoplata details and how you can actually finish the omoplata. He says, I'd like to be able to actually use it as a legit submission instead of sweep. In your omoplata setup video, your omoplata seems really tight and hard to roll out. So I'm going to talk about how we can actually use the omoplata as a submission and not just a sweep, because omoplata is very, very effective in regards to being a sweep for most people, but many people have trouble actually finishing it. If you look in the competition world, there's actually a very small subset of people who are good at finishing it. There's Clark Gracie, there's Andris Brunovskis, and there's other people. I don't even really know, but those are the two main ones. Andris is on the Grapplers guide. He has tons of omoplata stuff, so if you're on the Grapplers guide, make sure you basically watch his stuff because it's super, super useful. But let's talk about this. So, how to finish the omoplata. I'm not going to go over all the details of setting up. You can watch the video on YouTube. It's like 37 omoplata setups in under 4 minutes. Like, it's ridiculous. So watch that, or just go on the Grapplers guide and get the setups there. So, we're here. Let's say, for example, I have a lasso guard on him, come through, pull his elbow, I shoot through, and I get my omoplata. Now, the big thing here is I like to try the best I can to keep the collar here. So I keep this collar because this keeps some sort of upper body control on him. It makes it harder for him to start posturing up. It makes it harder for him to even work to pull his shoulder out. If he could pull his shoulder out, he has the ability to possibly pull his arm out. So when we're here and I keep hold of this collar, when he goes to pull his shoulder out, it's much, much harder. Also, my knees are bent up. My knees aren't just like flailing out like this, because this makes it a little bit harder for me to control. It also helps him roll. If I'm here like this and I straighten my legs right away, he can possibly follow the pressure of my legs and work to roll out. However, when my knees are bent to start, I can even have a triangle. Now when he goes to roll, it makes it a little bit harder because I'm not giving him that forward momentum. Now let's talk about the roll. The roll is the first thing that we should be trying to stop and make it hard for them to do. The roll and the step over. One thing that I like to do, if we turn this way here, is I have my grips. I keep my knees in tight. I like to take my hand, and if he's wearing the belt, I like to grab the belt here. I grab the belt and I drive my elbow down. I don't keep my elbow up because if my elbow's up, I don't actually have any downward pressure on his hip, and it still makes it easier for him to try to roll. So try to roll, it makes it easier for him to bring his hips up. When I grab the belt and I drop my elbow down, it puts pressure around his whole hip, essentially. Now when he tries to roll, it's much, much harder for him. I'm pulling everything tight here. It's harder for him to roll. Another thing that I like to do, especially if he's not wearing the belt, is I like to grab his gi. So I grab his gi, I bunch it up in my hand, and then I pull down and I hide my elbow. Look how my elbow disappears. I hide my elbow. Now he tries to roll. It makes it much, much harder for him to roll. I'm only doing this to give myself enough time to sit up, because ideally I want to sit up. I don't grab the pant leg like this. Some people do, and there may be people who are better at this than I am, but I don't grab the pant leg because it's so far away from his hip, and it doesn't give me hip control, that when he goes to roll, he can still lift his hips up and possibly roll. Now, true, I'll possibly end up with a sweep, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to actually get the submission. And I don't like letting go of this because I like keeping my opponent close to me. So I have this collar grip, I'm pulling in, I have my knees bent, and then I get my control on him. Either the belt or I get the actual gi and I drive down. The next thing that I do is I need to sit up. I don't just go here and sit up. I don't just reach and pull myself up. What I do is I take my outside leg, I swing up and swing down. So notice what I just did. I go 1, 2. That helps me sit up. If I don't do that, it's hard. It's really hard for me to sit up. So I keep this down, I stop him from rolling, I go 1, 2, and now I come up. Look, my arm goes right over his hip. And when I do it, I'm actually curling my arm into his hip and I'm kind of like hugging him tight into me. So we turn this way, I'm hugging him tight. I'm basically saying, come here, buddy. You stay close to me. I keep pulling this tight, and the next thing that I want to do to make my omoplata successful in regards to finishing in a normal fashion is I want to break him down. I don't want his shoulder to be disconnected from the mat. I want to actually take my feet, bring them out, and look, I scoot. And I keep pulling his lapel, and I pull his hip close to me. Now notice how he broke down. Now when I'm here like this, when he goes to reestablish his base, if I'm putting pressure down on his shoulder, try to come up, it's much, much harder. He's broken down. I'm still pulling him tight, and my ribs are actually stuck to his wrist. I'm not disconnected like this because he can straighten his arm. I don't want that to happen. So if we get the arm back, we're here, my rib stays connected to his wrist. Then the next thing I do is I either come through here and I grab his collar like this, or I'll get a one-on-one grip on his arm. I come up on my toe, my foot here, I go here and here. Look at my toes, they become active. Go here, and I don't go across his back like this. What I do is I actually go on an angle towards his shoulder. I go here. Now this puts pressure down. To put even more pressure, you can drive your heel down to the mat. And that makes it harder. At this point also, if you feel like you need to let go, make sure your ribs are tight, come up, hook underneath his shoulder like this, and then we come across towards the shoulder. We don't go across their back here because like there's no pressure here. And I'm actually helping him release his hand and possibly get out. I also don't go like this here because if I just kind of like start going forward, I might be helping him get back to his knees and helping him even start to roll. I don't want that to happen either. So what I do is I keep him broken down. I go over and I go towards his opposite shoulder. I can either grab the lapel here, I can grab his wrist, or I can let go, keep my ribs tight, and clamp and get like this gable grip on his shoulder, and then work to finish. So that's how I like to finish. Another quick tip is, let's say for example, you had trouble breaking your opponent down, right? And he starts kind of slipping this elbow down a little bit. One thing, and I give Andris a lot of credit for this, is if you bring your calf over the top of his elbow, it actually makes it very tight. Now when I come here, I can finish it. Even if I'm coming a little bit forward. So if you feel like the person's elbow is slipping, you bring your calf right over their elbow and then turn towards your angle to finish. Even if you come a little bit forward, it'll still finish it. Now the risk of this is that if you don't do this properly, he might slip his hand down, but he was slipping out anyway. So when we're here like this, and his elbow slips down, pull your own calf over their elbow and then go towards the shoulder, and then you get a lot of pressure on their arm. This is very, very tight. Those are some very, very good ways, in my opinion, to basically finish the omoplata in a submission fashion. One last thing is, like, let's say for example I have the omoplata on him, right? And we'll just scoot over a little bit this way. Is that if I feel like I can't break him down, or if I feel like this calf over his elbow isn't going to work well for me, what I do is I keep my grips on him, and then from there I get up on my feet and I just push him over. So I push, 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 and I get him in this like crucifix position here. So now look, I'm here like this. I get him in basically in the omoplata crucifix. I come here, I stay hooked underneath his arm, go through, and then I'll grab his shoulder and I'll finish the submission this way. This is one of the highest percentage ways of finishing the omoplata. Like super effective and very high percentage competition people who finish the omoplata, they finish it this way. And then I can go for, you know, by chokes and so on and so forth. If I can't get my grips, there's adjustments I can make. You can find those videos on the Grapplers Guide. There's hundreds of videos on the omoplata just on the Grapplers Guide alone. So that's how I like to approach finishing the omoplata as an actual submission. Work on this. These little details will help you out if you're having trouble finishing as a submission and you're just somebody who uses the omoplata as a sweep. If you need more guidance and more help, then go on the Grapplers Guide, watch Andris Brunovskis, his videos, because they are extremely useful. We have the Super Plata series where it's like 95 videos all on omoplatas. Omoplatas, monoplatas, Torrico-platas, Barado-platas, and he's like a master at doing the omoplata. And there's so many more details beyond what I even know that he goes over. Plus, there's lots of things that I show too. So, you know, if you're not a Grapplers Guide member, it will benefit you when you join. And there's tons of omoplata stuff too. So if you have any more questions, let me know. I'll do the best I can to help you out. Peace.